word to wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about S.W.O.R.D, number 8 by Al Ewing and Guy Villanova. And in this video, what we're going to be talking about is exactly how powerful Storm is. And I'm not talking about in terms of her Omega level mutant powers, her ability to manipulate the wind, the rain, the lightning, weather as a whole. We're not talking about that. I'm here to talk about why she is the most powerful Omega level mutant without having to use her powers against one of the most dastardly, one of the most evil and vile Omega level mutants Arakko has to offer. We're gonna talk about all that and more right now, but first, if you wanna see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I post new videos multiple times throughout the week and live stream every Saturday. Also, if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button because it really helps the channel out. That said, let's talk about S.W.O.R.D number 8. Okay, so when we get into this comic, one of the things that you kind of have to appreciate here is that Storm, now the regent of the Soul System, she is basically the big swinging dick of the Soul Galaxy. She sits now on a council that is probably filled with some of the most powerful mutants Arakko has ever seen. And before we even get into that, the thing I love about this comic is that it talks about what Storm has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, how even though she has ascended to this new rank, that she has now become this new important figure in the entire cosmos, she still faces adversity because she is now a regent to a warlike people who don't respect her. People who, for the most part, think that she's weak and she can't show any sign of weakness. Even in the opening, she talks about how she can't have been seen using a gate because, yes, she could have used the Krakoan gate to easily transport herself down to the planet's surface from Earth. However, if she would have done so, that would have been seen as, oh, well, she's taking the easy way. She decided to create an envelope of atmosphere so that she could literally fly her way down to the surface of Mars from Earth. And it's one of those things like it's the ultimate flex, but not because she has to show out for her own personal satisfaction. She's doing this to show that she is the Omega level mutant and that she is not to be messed with. That even when others try to challenge her and call her weak and say that she doesn't deserve to sit on any seat of this great ring of Arakko or anything else for that matter, she shows them exactly why she deserves to be there, even when she is challenged by Kaldarak, a creature who is very likely an Omega level mutant considering they want to take Storm's place. And as we're told in this book, no mutant who is not Omega level has ever been a part of that council. Now, the trick here is that, yeah, even though Storm gets challenged, that's the funny thing about her office is that it can be taken away from her. If she hides from a challenge or she faces a challenge and dies in said challenge or she yields in said challenge, she loses her station. That's the thing about being the regent of Arakko, and that's the funny thing about it because it's not something you could just do lightly. Once you step up to the challenge, you have to follow through. It's something that's brought up when the idea is casually brought up between Frenzy and Cora of Frenzy entering the challenge. It's said that there's only 3 ways out once you enter. You either win, or you die, or you yield. But that's neither here nor there, as he's sitting here talking greasy as hell about Storm and Frenzy and Cora of the Burning Heart. Watch on, we learn that Storm's ears are burning and that she's going to prove yet again why she is 100% that bitch. That said, I mentioned the Great Ring, which we learn a lot more about what that ring truly is. It's something that we were first introduced to shortly before Ten of Swords. I want to say roughly around X-Men number 12 or 13. What we're learning here here is that, of course, there is, just like how we have the fall, the autumn, the summer, and the winter sections of the Quiet Council, well, the Great Ring of Arakko has its own setup as well. Theirs are broken down in ways that are a little bit different than what Krakoa is. Case in point, the 3 seats of the Dusk, they are referred to as, and I quote, seats that are consulted on what cannot be seen and cannot be touched. It's even stated that these tables are both necessary in war and peace, so that regardless of what era Arakko sits in, whether it is a peacetime or a wartime, they're still consulted. They're just never really deferred to. Now, in this case, we have the seat of law, which is basically what it sounds like. They're consulted on matters of law on Arakko, of which they don't really have very many laws, and what few laws they do have, they don't just change willy-nilly, but whenever they do, Aura Sarada is the one who oversees it. We don't get to meet that character in this comic. They are oddly absent because of the fight that happened where Storm iced fiery Calderock. We also have the seat of history, which is what it sounds like. They're consulted on matters of lore, and they record and decide the history of Arakko. We get here a character by the name of Zelo, who was Stulgid. That is the character who sits there, who we all met during Planet Size X-Men #1. We also have the seat of dreams, and they're consulted on matters of art, poetry, and song. And they basically say that few ever challenge for this seat, but those who do are the most dangerous, for they never yield. This one belongs to Lotus Logos. That one is a very interesting one because it kind of makes it sound like whoever it is that sits on the seat is incredibly dangerous. The 3 seats of the Dawn are there to oversee and plan for the 3 outcomes of any conflict. They are the wartime era leaders of Arakko, and right now we are in what is considered peacetime, so they don't really have much of a say in anything right now. But Iska the Unbeaten sits at the seat of victory. She is the one who is consulted about victory, and of course, when the battle is won, what to do next. A seat that once belonged to Apocalypse's wife, Genesis, well, now it's Iska's. And this seat is incredibly important because, once again, Arakko was a warlike people, so this is actually probably the first time in a long time that they've been in peace times. So this seat was the one that was almost always the one people reached out to and asked for their opinion. Next one is the seat of the stalemate. In cases where the battle has no clear winner, Idil is the one who is consulted, a character that we first met in Jonathan Hickman's X-Men #12. We also have the seat of loss, which is held up by Tarn the Uncaring. This is the seat that is consulted when battles are lost and the way forward must be decided. We also have the 3 seats of the day. These are the peacetime seats and are the seats right now that are in, for the most part, control of the Great Ring of Arakko. We have the seat of above us, which is the seat that is consulted on what they consider matters of the heavens, and this is where Lactuca is the one who sits on this seat, who, once again, we also met during Planet Size X-Men #1. We also have the seat of below us, which is matters of the deep, which is where Subunar, also another character that we met during Planet Size X-Men #1, sits on this seat. And then, of course, the seat of all around us. This is the seat where Storm resides. This is a seat that is consulted on all matters related to the people, the weather, the land, and the turn of the world, as it's stated. This seat also has a built-in ace up its sleeve, whereas other people who sit on this council, they get 1 vote. The person who is on the seat of all around us, they get 2 votes. So Storm, due to the fact that she's the regent of Arakko, the regent of Mars, she can basically cast 2 votes at any given time when a vote is called for. And then, of course, we also have the ground on which all seats rest, which is Arakko itself. Arakko also gets to have a say in things, but unfortunately, because of the events of Ten of Swords, the character Red Root, who kind of acts as the voice of Arakko, the one who is able to communicate with Arakko, much in the same way that Cypher is able to communicate with Krakoa, Red Root is missing, and I would say not so much missing because we know exactly where Red Root is. Back in the pages of Ten of Swords, we learned that Red Root was captured by Mad Jim Jaspers and is being held on the Crooked Market, so they're not dead. They are technically missing, but we know where they are. That said, they say Arakko rarely, if ever, has anything to say, but they're always listening. Now, there's also mention that there are rumors of 3 more seats. Seats that are very likely, considering that we have the seat of dawn, the seats of the day, the seats of the dusk, there's very likely seats of the night. We don't know what those seats are, but I'm pretty sure as it's stated down here, we will see what those seats are eventually. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, no mutant that was not Omega level has ever sat on the Great Ring. It's not happened once, and it has never happened. It never will. But the Great Ring has only 9 recognized seats, other than, the others that I just mentioned. That said, where this comic really kicks into high gear for me is the fact that it is completely a case study on why Storm is the baddest in all of the galaxy. Of course, yes, we know Storm has a long history. A lot of people love Storm, not just in the readership, but also within the canon of the comics themselves. Storm is probably one of the most respected Marvel Comics characters of all time. She is that badass. And oftentimes, other characters want to test nuts, and this is kind of Marvel's way of showcasing that Storm is a badass by putting her up against characters who think very little of her. Characters who are very powerful and overestimate their own abilities against her. We saw this in S.W.O.R.D in regards to the character Death, who a lot of people were concerned was going to kill Storm in that story arc, and it didn't happen. In fact, she completely destroyed Death, and it wasn't even really that close of a fight. And it was also a fight that, due to some treachery on the part of Saturnine, Storm didn't have access to her mutant powers, but Death did. In this particular case, she's gonna come into conflict with a character that we've seen more on the Hellions side of things, and that is the character Tarn the Uncaring. The reason why Storm and Tarn are kind of at each other's throats right now is because of the fact that in the recent pages of Hellions, namely Hellions number 14, Tarn promised, quotey fingers promised, that he would never set foot on Krakoa, and more importantly, that he wouldn't try to come after anyone from Krakoa, and he lied. And he's very open about the fact that he lied, and he even goes on to say that he will continue lying to Storm, to her face, bald-faced lies at that, and he says he's gonna continue doing it for her if she chooses for him to do so, because he respects her. But at the end of the day, it means nothing. His word means absolutely nothing to her, because he will tell her whatever she wants to hear, whenever she wants to hear, and at the end of the day, she can either take it or leave it. The way that Tarn is speaking to Storm, she takes that as a challenge to her seat. And Tarn, while he does not wish to be the regent of Araco, he actually quite enjoys being at the seat of loss because he doesn't give a shit about anything, and it just works out for him that way. However, he does want to kill Storm because he doesn't really like her very much. Before we get to what happens next, I do want to point out the fact that while this whole challenge is going down, we are treated to a shot where Storm is fighting against somebody else, someone who is claiming to be her. And when we get the full shot of it, we see, Storm in her, Hellfire Gala outfit that she is yet to take off, by the way. We see her fighting against someone wearing the classic Storm outfit as a fight in the rain. It makes me wonder, who was this battle against? Was it against a shapeshifter, or was it some kind of a mental battle against oneself? What kind of fight was this? It's not really clearly spelled out exactly what's happening here, but it is something that comes up even at the end of this comic, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. However, one of the things I want to get to is that when Storm and Tarn face off against one another, the fight doesn't go exactly the way anyone is probably going to expect it to. There is a really interesting thing that happens. Your mileage with this may vary. However, Tarn does the very thing that you would expect Tarn to do. Tarn has the ability to edit and manipulate other people's DNA, their genetic code. He can do this at will without even so much as winking an eye. He does this to Storm, taking away her Omega level abilities, taking away her very mutant power, the very thing that he believes she relies on. But here's the thing that Tarn didn't know about Storm. Storm has defeated enemies more powerful than herself without the aid of her mutant power. I talked about this earlier when she defeated Death in Ten of Swords, when she fought against Callisto, way back in the pages of Uncanny X-Men number 170, even in the pages of Extreme X-Men, she thwarted off the advances of an alien conqueror, and she's done a lot of this either with no usage of her powers, or being severely hampered, or just being severely outclassed. And she still comes out the victor regardless of the situation or the odds thrown against her. Even Even when she fought death, yeah, she had no powers, but another thing you gotta think about too is she was also poisoned. Tarn doesn't understand this, and what he does to her is he edits her DNA to basically body morph her and turn her into some kind of weird David Cronenberg style monster. Something that still doesn't affect Storm even in the state, while Tarn is grinning, laughing, eating her pain and suffering up. He's enjoying the fact that she no longer has her powers, and if she doesn't have her powers, she can't sit on the Great Ring. And this is where Storm is going to remind him of everything I literally just told you guys, and something that even calls back to a recent issue of Marauders. Back in Marauders number 20 that came out not too terribly long ago, when Storm was bidding her farewells to everyone, there was a game between all the rest of the team to try and figure out exactly how many knives Storm keeps on her person at any given time. And this is something that Tarn was not expecting. She keeps a knife tucked away in various places on her person. And what's even more interesting about this is that there's a callback to this where she literally slips a knife from her wrist, almost as if she was hiding a card, and she plunges it directly into Tarn's heart. Something that Tarn wasn't expecting, and if he actually knew it was coming, he probably could have edited his own DNA to move his heart to a different part of his body. However, he wasn't expecting this, and since he didn't see it coming, it caught him completely by surprise. Even better, the fact that Storm lets him know that all I have to do is make one push of that knife further into your heart and you'll die. Something that technically wouldn't be that big of a deal. He could be resurrected if they so chose to, but still, it's something he doesn't want to experience. Even though he's talking greasy, saying that he could basically end her life right then and there, but the fear that Storm is that much faster than him, realizing how quickly she plunged that knife in his chest without even so much as a moment's hesitation, he's not going to risk trying to kill her with quotey fingers a single thought, knowing that she is that fast. And Tarn does in fact yield, losing to Storm. This is why Storm is the most powerful Omega level mutant in all of the X-Men's corner of the Marvel Comics universe, and it's not even close. It's because, yes, she is incredibly powerful, but even without her powers, she can beat just about anyone. At the end of it all, he's still going to gloat, telling her that she can't sit on the ring. She can no longer be the regent. He's taken away the one thing that Quotey Fingers makes her important, therefore she can't have the other thing that now makes her even more important. But Storm lets him know that even without her powers, even though the rule is that no mutant who is not Omega level could sit on the Great Ring, even the fact that she doesn't have any powers at all now, she's still not going to give up. She's never going to give up. And this blows Tarn's mind because, as he says, it's madness. You are powerless, you are broken, you cannot possibly win any further challenges. And then he has to ask the question. And when he asks this isn't a defiant, can you? If you look closely, this is more of a, wait a minute, what if she can? What if she will? That is what this is. And she gives him one of the most knowing glances, up face and all, and it is amazing. It's here that Tarn realizes that, yeah, I can't with you, and I am going to let you go. I'm going to basically re-edit your DNA and put you back exactly the way you were. Omega level powers and everything. Tarn has to respect Storm now, as everyone in the ring of Arakko right now has to respect Storm. He even says that, no, you are not Krakoan. You are a Krakoan in disguise. He says, I see you as you truly are. You are of Arakko, Wind Rider, and perhaps even of men. This is not an insult, because as we talked about earlier, the people of Arakko don't respect Storm because they feel that Krakoans are soft. They feel like the mutants that come from Earth aren't real mutants. They're not tough. They're not bred for war like the Iraqi mutants are, and more importantly, those who come from a myth, as does Tarn the Uncaring. And he's recognizing her now. Let's not make any mistakes. I don't think this means that Storm and Tarn are going to be sharing Christmas cards and, sending each other birthday calls. This is not what I'm saying. I think Tarn, he has another card to play. And of course, Storm, thinking ahead, she realizes that, yeah, maybe we should look into this. And as far as anyone can tell, WizKid and Frenzy, they're looking her over, and it looks as though he put her back exactly the way she was before she stepped in the ring. There was says no, as WizKid points out. He says there are no DNA traps, no psychic time bombs. You left the circle exactly how you came in. Frenzy even points out that we even checked to see if Tarn gave you a boost or took a couple of years off your life or amped up your abilities, none of which has happened. However, Cora of the Burning Heart has a knowing look on her face when Storm says no, he wouldn't have, would he? Cora seems to think that maybe Tarn did do something to Storm, but we don't know exactly what it is, and I think it's gonna be a little bit before we find out. This is a seed that is being planted, and something tells me it may have to do with what Storm saw earlier when Tarn had challenged her, the battle against herself. Something tells me that Tarn may be playing with her mind in some way and may have unleashed something in her head that she's not going to be able to deal with as easily as she dealt with Tarn the Uncaring, and that wasn't even an easy fight. We even see it at the end where we see her once again looking off into the clouds and seeing a face looking back at her, one that seems to be giving her a knowing look, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but one that also looks to be Mohawk Storm, so who's to say? But anyways, I really love this comic. This is a case study in why Storm is 100% that bitch, and I love it. I love that Al Ewing is putting genuine respect on her name, and I think that, yeah, when people said that, Marvel's probably just gassing us up when they said that big things are coming for Storm, well, we saw it in regards to Planet-Size X-Men #1. We saw it in regards to the S.W.O.R.D series thus far, and we're seeing it yet again within the S.W.O.R.D series, and I'm here for it. We're even seeing it in the pages of Black Panther. Even John Ridley's Black Panther is even kind of paying up some homage to Storm, so yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure to share it all over the internet with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to S.W.O.R.D and how badass Storm is. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about S.W.O.R.D #8. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.